Burns and Gambo present the Gambo 5.
Hardwood edition.
Drugs are good in the Delaware Destroyers.
Did Voice Guy do a new one for us, or is that just
Bad to the bone.
recirculated from...
That's been in the archives.
That's what I thought. Not in the budget for Voice Guy to do one for the NBA season, apparently. I'll work on that.
Is that an old one?
Yeah, it was an old one. That was
That's
from
an old one.
That was from I'm sure the NFL draft. Maybe the NFL draft. Maybe that was from the Marquise Chris Drogenbender draft. Maybe that's where we pulled that one out of. Welcome back, 3 o'clock hour of the Burns and Gambo show. Good to have the crew back together again after my vacation. Although we lose Gambo day after tomorrow, he's off to Norway.
What?
So don't act
The
like
NBA draft's Wednesday.
don't act like you're surprised. You told me 2 breaks ago that you've already packed for the trip. So you're already ready to go. You've literally got your bag. His bags are packed. Literally and figuratively, physically and mentally. Gambo's bags are packed and he's ready to get out of here.
Fjords that I have to jump into.
So let's try to just squeeze everything we can get out of Gambo before he checks out on us, because I don't know how much longer we've got of him.
Bring yes.
I must go.
So are we calling it a Gambo 5 or not? What are we doing?
I'm gonna put 5 together.
Okay.
I'm gonna put 5 together, and we'll put 5 together.
Okay.
Now, I think that there's a chance that they're going to trade this pick. I think there's a chance that they trade 22, but the 5 will only be if they pick at 22. Because if they trade down, I don't know. Some of those players I think at number 5 are going to be gone.
Oh, that's a standard. That's a standard. I would hope that now our audience would understand that's like a standard thing. Like if Gambo's saying these are 5 guys for the 22nd pick, but as we reported at the beginning of the show, you reported at the beginning of the show, there is some real validity to the idea that the Suns could trade down out of 22 and look at the Utah Jazz, who have the 29th and the 32nd pick. All right, we're going to talk about, I know it was gone last week, but you revealed 2 names last week. We're gonna talk about them again in the next segment. Give me the next
I'm going to rule one out. Going to rule one out first.
Oh, is that what you're going to do first?
Yeah, I've been ruling players out. So I've ruled out.
Okay.
I've ruled out Deron Holmes from Dayton.
I had this exciting highlight package I was ready to play.
I know you're ready.
I'll wait.
And then I've also ruled out Kyle Filipowski from Duke, which has shocked a lot of people because they're mocked to the Suns. Both of those guys are mocked to the Suns.
I'm not shocked by it.
Holmes and Filipowski, I'm ruling out.
I watched enough Duke basketball, and I got Lauren whispering in my ear about Filipowski and how that doesn't surprise me at all. So, so Deron Holmes out, Kyle Filipowski
I'm going to
okay.
rule out one more that I've seen mocked to the Phoenix Suns quite a bit recently. Adem Bona, the UCLA center. I'm ruling him out.
Shh. Hold on. Listen closely. Can you hear that? That's the sound of Lauren's heart breaking. Could you hear that? I could hear it from here. It's made a little gentle little snap, like a little bone.
I'm ruling him
cracked.
out.
Okay.
He's been mocked to the Suns. There's been some talk about him. I'm taking Bona out of the 22 pick. He's not going to be picked.
Okay, so it's not going to be him.
Yes.
All right, I feel like you've put this off long enough. Are you going to reveal the name? You're really stalling for time here. It's like it's stall.
Hit it, Lauren.
Ryan Dunn, forward, Virginia.
Nice pass underneath and Dunn with the slam. Brody was really aggressive early in the second half. Not as much of late. Dunn puts it on the deck, soars to the rim, and smashes it.
This action from Tony Bennett earlier in the first half, trying to get Ryan Dunn a rim run.
Benny Williams had it blocked by Dunn. Starling with a head of speed, and look at Dunn closing ground to swat it out of bounds.
Ryan Dunn, Virginia forward, real athletic, can guard multiple spots. Maybe the best defensive player in this entire draft, but he can guard a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4. Good cutter, good transition finisher, comes up with the steals and the blocks. Can shoot, okay? Can shoot. So you're not looking at him for his offense right now. You're going to have to work on that offense, but his ability to switch on to any player from the opposing team is what this team desperately needs. He's 6'8". He's going to be a great defensive player right from the get-go. I think he can make an impact right away. Ryan Dunn is one of my top 5 players for the Suns at pick number 22.
Okay, and we'll talk about the total package and the other names that you were revealed with more coming tomorrow, right? Before you leave, right? We
will do two more tomorrow.
2 more names tomorrow.
We'll do 2 more names.
So that's coming up to. So we'll talk about Ryan Dunn and the other ones later. Ryan Dunn is a name that has been getting a lot of traction to the Suns the last 24 hours or so. There was a story on ESPN.com today in which they were talking about players to teams, and they wrote of Ryan Dunn. Quote, is said to be gaining steam in this range of the draft after a slew of outstanding workouts this month propelled him firmly into the first round. Several teams have said Dunn exceeded expectations with his shooting while doing some, their words, not mine, absolutely mesmerizing things defensively in guarding point guards through centers in group settings, close quote. I looked him up knowing that this was who you were going to say, and he's got arms like a pterodactyl. He's 6'6". He's got a wingspan of 7'1.5". All right, huge arms. I'm looking at the ringer.com and their kind of draft profile of him, and just here's his traits, his pluses. Hustle. They say he's got that dog in him, which is exciting because sometimes the Suns are really lacking guys who have that dog in them. On-ball defense, interior scoring, elite rim protector. A lot of these things that you just said, understands his offensive role, tries to limit his mistakes. He's a great wing protector. He's a special defender in every way. He's a very athletic at-the-rim finisher. He is a very limited shooter. And very in college, apparently, teams are like, yeah, go ahead, take it. You're going to brick it.
20% from
Shoot
3.
Go ahead.
Not a good shooter at all. And that's what – and if he was a good shooter, he'd be a top 5-6 pick. I mean, because he's got the size, he's got the athleticism, and he's got that great defense. So I see Ryan Dunn as a player that I am considering for Phoenix at number 22. I would have him very high on my list at number 22 as well. I wouldn't have him at the bottom of the list. So that's now 3 players we have kind of pushed into that category for guys that could be there at 22. We'll come up with 2 more tomorrow and finish out 5, and then, cross our fingers and hope that one of those guys will be there.
When we think about how the Suns played this past year, assuming he projects to everything that they say he could be, all, with the warts and all, the good stuff and the bad stuff, the Suns definitely were missing a guy like this.
Definitely.
The Suns,
Definitely.
You can say his offensive liability, and yeah, that matters. Yeah, that's going to hurt at some point. They're going to leave him open, whatever. But you think back to that Minnesota series, you think back to how many times the Suns just didn't have somebody who was A, capable, or B, even really interested in guarding top players out on the perimeter. That's him. That's this guy. And switches, doesn't matter. He can guard just about anybody who's out there.
Yep.
He's got the quickness to keep up with the little guys. He's got the size to hang with the big guys. They didn't really have a player like this. And if he truly does got that dog in him, the way the ringer says, that's the kind of defender you can throw out there on Anthony Edwards and try to slow him down a little bit. That's the kind of defender that, quite frankly, Boston was loaded with all season long, and the Suns had none of.
And Minnesota
all season
too.
long.
When
Minnesota too.
When the Suns played the
McDaniels,
Timberwolves,
and of course,
well, they have 4 guys that could guard Booker, Durant, be like 4 guys. So you need to have some of those players. Ryan Dunn would be a terrific pick for the Suns at 22.
Seems to be getting a little traction out there in the world of social media and what. And of course, any names that Gambo suggests the Suns could take at number 22 only apply if they're at number 22. But it does appear as if, at least for now, a couple days ahead of the NBA draft, that the Suns are sticking and picking, that they're not going to bail out of this draft, that they're going to take a player. So for the first time in 4 years, we kind of get the opportunity to talk about a player being added to the Suns and what that player brings. Now, maybe it's 2 players because they make this deal with Utah. We'll see. But that's just kind of in the rumor stage right now, though you've confirmed that it's happening. Let's talk about the 3 so far. So we just revealed Ryan Dunn.
Ryan Dunn, the defensive
forward
out of Virginia. We also have the Marquette point guard, Tyler Kolek, who I do think is going to be there, and I think he's very high on there. I think he's high on their list. So I have there's other point guards. They like Jared McCain, the Duke point guard. I can't put him in my 5 right now. I just don't see him falling to 22. Now, could you move up and get him? Maybe. But I do think that Jared McCain would be a point guard that they like. I just don't know if I see him falling to 22. The other guys, Collier or Carrington, they like a little bit, but not huge fans of those guys. So I don't have them in there. So Kolek And the other guy I've got is Yves Missy.
Yves Missy.
Yves Missy.
Right? Am I saying that right?
Yes,
Missy.
Yves Missy.
I got a lesson on how to say his name about an hour before the show
Yves Missy.
Yves Messi? No, Yves
No,
Missy.
not Messi,
Okay,
not
good.
the soccer player. It's Missy. He's a very intriguing center that, he plays from Cameroon. Really physical freak that blocks a lot of shots, and he gives you that ability defensively. Very different than Nurkic because he can run like a deer, and he's just crazy athletic. I mean, he wasn't one of the top options, but he led the Bears in blocks. He was a close second in rebounding. He was fourth in the entire Big 12 in blocks per game. So he's a guy that's got a lot of physical tools. So that's why I've got him. And it's a good center draft. It really is a good center draft. So I have Yves Missy in there. We have Tyler Kolek, and we have Ryan Dunn so far in our top 5.
Yeah, and obviously all three are – it's funny. We've talked a lot about what the Suns need this offseason. Each one of these guys represents a facet of what we've talked about the Suns needing. And so which one you prefer, if you're out there and you're a Suns fan and you're listening – probably depends in large part of what you think the bigger priority is, or at least what you think the Suns can't get in free agency. So if you don't believe the Suns are going to be able to find a good backup center in free agency, you might think Yves Missy is the guy they should get because they're going to have a hard time finding a backup center to Yusuf Nurkic. If you think they're going to have a hard time finding a wing in free agency, you might think Ryan Dunn is the guy they should. You see what I'm saying? It's like if you don't think they can get a backup point guard in free agency, and trust me, we're going to talk about this a little later on in the show. The lists are starting to come out, and it's discouraging if you're a Suns fan to get an idea of what might be out there in terms of backup point guards. If you don't feel like you can find a backup point guard in the draft, you might feel like you almost have to take Tyler Kolek. Now, what's intriguing about your trade down scenario, okay, in which the Suns are sitting at 22. The Utah Jazz call up and say, we'll give you 29 and 32 for 22. And the Suns say, okay, fine, done. How many of these three guys would be there at 29 or 32? Could you get one of them and somebody else? Two of them if you played your cards right?
So I'm looking at a Yahoo Sports mock draft from today.
Okay.
So at 29, so they have Ryan Dunn in the second round, pick number 33 to Milwaukee.
Sounds like he's moving up, though. Sounds like he's moving up a little bit.
Right.
How far? But it sounds like he's moved up a little. But the mock drafts are a fairly decent guide. And by the way, I looked up your Jared McCain on a.
You see him anywhere?
On a big board by Kevin O'Connor that was updated 3 days ago. I've got him 14th.
Yeah, I just don't.
So well out of reach.
Again, they like him more than they like the other point guards in this draft. I just don't. And again, I think that they like him even more than Collier or Carrington. But McCain is not going to get to them. So I've done a lot of research on McCain.
Okay.
And yippee-ki-yay. Not John McCain. I did. Yippee-ki-yay!
Okay, first of all, that's McLean.
Oh, McLean.
Not McCain. McCain. We've had
now I have a shooting guard.
That's good, Mitch. That's really, really good. We've had a prominent senator from the state of Arizona who's got a more familiar name, not McCain. So there's that. All right,
I got that wrong.
I'm getting distracted.
Yeah, you just got back from vacation.
They've got, the big board by Kevin O'Connor. They've got Tyler. Let's look at the three names that you've talked about. Tyler Kolek, number 21.
Okay.
Yves Missy, number 25.
Right there.
And then you have to go all the way down to 36 to find Ryan Dunn. So in theory, now I know what I just said, Ryan Dunn, it feels like he's kind of moving up some boards, and I think it's just because I read some intel this morning on ESPN.com that maybe he is moving up some boards. But in theory, if Ryan Dunn is 36 on the big board and Missy is 25 and Kolek is 21, maybe
one of them is there.
One of them or two of them are there. I think one of them would be. Well, I don't know for sure. If one of them.
But that's what you're hoping for by trading down. You've got your board, and you're looking at 22, and you're saying we're hoping one of these three guys is here at 22. You're not going to trade down to 29 unless you believe one of those guys could be there at 29 for you, because again, I mean, that's, they're looking at a 1, a 3, and a 5. They're looking at a wing player at a 3, looking at a point guard, and they're looking at a center. Not looking at shooting guards or power forwards, really. So, but if you believe that, hey, listen, we really like this guy at 22, but I don't know that anybody else would take him if we get to 29. Though then you get a free pick. You get like a free lottery ticket. You'll get a guy you really like 7 spots later, and you'll get a free lottery ticket at 32 to take another player.
It's no different than what the Arizona Cardinals did when they traded down and took Max Melton, right? It's almost exactly the same thing. We're comfortable moving down this range because we know there will be a player that we like in this range. We know there will be. There are enough. Yeah. There are enough players on our board that we've put a grade on, and less picks before we go to know that if we move down to this spot, there will be a player that we've got a very high grade. We can't exactly predict how it's going to go down, but we know there will be a player that we have a high grade on that will be available after we make this trade and pick up this extra 3rd rounder. Suns are going to be in the exact same boat. They just have to know for sure that there is a player they've got a high grade on who's going to be there at number 29. Is it one of these 3 guys? Is it one of the 2 names that you're going to reveal tomorrow? I don't know, but there is... I'm not going to call it the Dragan-Bender Marquise Chris dream scenario, but there is maybe a scenario where 2 of the Gambo 5 are available at 29 and 32, and they can get both of them. There is, right? I mean,
the dream scenario.
There's now, the last time we were presented with a dream scenario, we all woke up in a cold sweat, and it was a nightmare, and we couldn't wait for it to be over.
I forgot that I was on Doug and Wolf that morning breaking out the dream scenario.
That's always the part about the dream scenario that cracks me up, is that you didn't remember saying it. During our draft coverage that night, somebody pointed out to you, hey, you mentioned this on the Doug and Wolf show. And you're like, I did?
The Suns' dream scenario was to get Dragan-Bender and Marquise Chris. And I said that on Doug and Wolf, and that's exactly what ended up happening, is they got Marquise Chris and Dragan-Bender.
But you couldn't remember saying it during
I don't know.
draft
I just my head spins a lot with so many, I have so many conversations, and there's just so much going on.
Sometimes with yourself, yeah.
And I'm trying to pack.
What? Okay,
I need a raincoat. What do I need?
Of which free agent position do you think is going to be the toughest to find between a backup point guard, a wing, or a backup center? In free agency, which one do you think is going to be the toughest to find?
That's a great question. I'm going to say backup center.
Because
the backup centers in free agency stink.
Might dictate what you do in the draft. It might have to dictate what you do in the draft.
You want Dario?
If you feel like you're not going to be able to get a backup, yeah, I do want Dario. I'd take Dario in a New York Minute back on this team. I'd go buy one of his jerseys if you got him.
You
back
would?
Oh, heck yeah. I should have done it the first time.
Hello, Dave. This is Dario.
Hello, Dave. This is Dario. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
We appreciate you. If you feel like you're not going to be able to get one of those positions in free agency, that might be who you have to take at number 22. Backup point guard in Kolek, wing player in Dunn, or a backup center in Misi. Because you know you're not going to get that position in free agency.
Guard draft is not good. The center draft is pretty good.
Yeah. When we come back, after I remind you of the FanDuel text line, we'd love to hear from you if you have a chance to chime in on the show. You got some thoughts, maybe even an answer to that question. Which position do you think is going to be the toughest one for the Suns to fill in free agency? Backup point guard, wing player, or backup center?
Thanks for watching Burns and Gambo. Click to see more from the guys and hit the button in the middle to subscribe so you never miss a video from Arizona sports.